So as an educator, we all think that a teacher or an educator professes a particular subject matter, right? That's true and that's good. You need to be an expert in your subject matter to be an effective teacher. But at the same time, we all have come across teachers who would teach by looking at the board. Either they're writing on the board or they are literally talking to the board or, talking to the space in front of them. Not really, realizing that people in front of them, the audience, the learners, are actually human beings, psychological beings.
This podcast is sponsored by Azdan. And this podcast is sponsored by Haft, Hub of Finance Transformation. هذا البودكاست برعاية أزدان. وهذا البودكاست برعاية هافت, Hub of Finance Transformation.
So usually, a few discussion we hear from business leaders in some cases that some of the degree that we hear online, they become a little bit commercial very recently. And a few friends went for one certificate, one study, and they just see that they only looking for the money, the certificate at the end of the day, and they don't see the value of the education itself. So either there is value of education, but it's fully disconnected with the market reality, or there is no value and it's only about the certificate as well. So I was just keen to know more about the education sector and how it is evolving, especially with the business management, the future leaders of the corporation and the multinationals and small and medium companies as well, and how this education will evolve in the crazy base of the AI and machine learning and ChatGPT and all the tech that we see now that can be a personal teacher and a coaching for you for some of the certificate as you speak now. And here we have Roy, right? And
yes, Roy.
That was really pleasure having you, and thank you so much for accepting the invite.
Thank you.
So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Okay. So starting with the first point, if you could just quick introduce yourself. Who's Roy?
Well, I would say that I'm an educator.
Okay.
But I'm an educator with a twist. I like to use psychology and psychological principles in improving education. In fact, last night, because I'm still adjusting to UAE timing, I've been traveling. I went to Germany, from KL, Malaysia, to Germany, Berlin, and then now I'm here. And I couldn't sleep. Then I ended up, writing a script and recording a video. Talking about success and how we define success from a psychological point of view. So I talked about the procedural memory. Like when you wish to drive a car, you do it almost automatically. But think about it. What if you started thinking about driving? The moment you start thinking about the steps involved in driving, you'll start messing up. In fact, you'll find it impossible to drive. So success, for a long time, people have been talking about success, teaching about success as if it is, something that can come out of a playbook, a manual. And people have written books about that and conducted workshops about that, commercialized it. But frankly speaking, if you look at all successful people, even in corporations, businesses, they are not people who went, by the book. There was a lot of spontaneity, a lot of anticipating the future. Without being so rigid, and inflexible about it. So just like that. So I actually took a psychological principle and I applied it in a more broader concept of success. So I'm very passionate about psychology. Even though I call myself an educator, I'm in education business for about 20 years now. But the core is psychology. Because my first degree was in psychology, my master's degree, I have 2 masters. Actually, I have 4 master's degree, or maybe 5. But one of them is psychology, another one is education.
Okay. How's psychology study or passion helped you to shape your own career?
So as an educator, we all think that a teacher or an educator professes a particular subject matter, right? That's true and that's good. You need to be an expert in your subject matter to be an effective teacher. But at the same time, we all have come across teachers who would teach by looking at the board. Either they're writing on the board or they are literally talking to the board or, talking to the space in front of them. Not really, realizing that people in front of them, the audience, the learners are actually human beings, psychological beings, and they have this brain, amazing brain, magnificent brain, and the brain has specific processes that are involved in the acquisition of, new knowledge, information, and all that. So teachers forget that they are actually teaching learners who are human beings, who are psychological beings. So this is where psychology comes in a very big way for me. I teach, but then I don't teach students. I teach learners who are psychological beings and for whom the material being taught, the subject matter being taught, is meaningful only in their own context of experiences and frame of reference.
Okay.
Right? So that's very important.
So if you go back to a university student and they are studying psychology, they're just in front of you now, and you want to give them advice, giving the context that they are studying now, what kind of advice you're going to give them?
Psychology students?
Yes.
They
are psychology students.
Okay.
And you went through all of this experience and you saw how psychology supported you all ago.
Yes.
And at the end of the lecture, they ask it for an advice. What advice you give them?
So one thing about this field, a lot of people end up in the psychology faculty, for example, or department of psychology, not because they're thinking about their career, so to say. In fact, I had master's students at a university, a big university, international university in Thailand. They take Master of Science in Counseling Psychology. And if you surveyed what background they came from in terms of bachelor's degree completion, many of them come from business background, engineering background, other fields than psychology itself. So when you ask them, why do you choose this master's degree in psychology? The answer is very simple. I want to learn more about myself and other people. So I think psychology students normally, end up in that field because they want to get to know more about themselves and others. And herein lie the secret to success. Because people talk about mindfulness, right? Why did mindfulness become so popular all of a sudden, in just recent times? That's because we have moved so far away from our own selves that we don't realize that to be a true success or an accomplished person in any field that you are in, you first need to be in touch with yourself.
Excellent. So what advice are you going to give them?
Enjoy the field, enjoy the learning, but don't be close-minded about what you are going to do eventually. Like the example that you just gave earlier in our conversation, someone in psychology become a
VP
CPA,
finance.
VP finance.
Yes.
That's most envied position in any organization, right? VP finance. So how does a psychology graduate become that VP finance? But that's the possibility. Knowing psychology will take you to endless, potential and areas to explore, but you just have to be open-minded and continue to use your psychology in a meaningful way.
Of course. Okay. Now, I think we're going to have another discussion later on about psychology. Yeah, that will be interesting discussion with you.
Sure.
But now I just want to go through our main subject today. So today we're going to discuss the education evolution for the future leaders. So we're just laser focused on the junior manager, senior manager, executive on that field.
Okay.
Whereas it's a big population globally, and it's a big business when it comes to bachelor degrees, master degrees, PhDs as well. And especially with the technology evolution as well. So before we go to that main subject, would you mind take us through your journey setting up the education institution in Europe and Southeast Asia as well? How did you came up with that institution at the end of the day?
So I joined a very vibrant international school, and then from there I grew, taking the school from being non-accredited to an accredited school. And then we expanded into a college. So I actually acquired an entity that was being sold off by a group of Thai and British investors, shareholders. And so we took over that entity, and then I developed it. And then over time, we felt that we need to further expand. So it was always driven by our need and our desire to expand as an education entity. Because my board members always told me that we want to have A to Z under one roof, like kindergarten or preschool, kindergarten, up to doctorate, or even beyond that, post-doctorate. So I actually became their instrument to making that possible, because there was no one else in the board or in their other, leadership positions was willing to think, futuristically for them. So I, being a passionate educator, I actually could see the future with this organization and, the expansion potential. So from international school, having preschool, kindergarten, primary, middle school and high school, we expanded into a college, and then we expanded into a university. We also expanded into an online learning platform, which is supposed to have blockchain integration. So that's already up and running, but we are still growing that particular online space also. So we have actually touched all spectrum of the education provision, so to say.
So usually, when it comes to business, which is mainly my passion myself, where I can compare business and what is happening now versus 10 years ago, and I see a huge difference between how the business used to be run 10 years ago versus now. So for the education sector, what kind of changes you see on the education industry as we speak now compared to 10 years ago, for example?
I think, I have to start by saying that education is one of the fields that is the last to adopt to changes. This has been a biggest problem in education. Okay,
Sure.
Someone said, if you resurrect or if you raise from the dead someone from the 18th century, 19th century, and then they came alive, and then they walked through our streets now. When they go to the hospital, they'll be surprised. They say, what is this? So looks so advanced and so different, from the hospital then. If they go to a place of worship, maybe, they see difference, right? But then when they go to a school, maybe when they go to a place of shopping, where they could buy things previously and now, they would see a big difference. But then when they come to a school,
It's the same.
it's the same. Classrooms, teacher in the front, classroom setting where the desk and the table, the desk, the chairs are in front of the teacher, and students are seated, in rows and, and quietly and listen to the teacher. So the structure, education seems to be very archaic. And even today, you won't believe, even today, we have come so far, and still a lot of schools, education institutions in different countries are still the same. Very least amount of change is seen in education. So this is why I'm very passionate about education, innovation in education, disrupting education, even though, sometimes I'm not necessarily liked for it, but you have to do what you have to do.
Sure.
Having said that, education, business or industry is one of the least prone to change, because they try to safeguard, because there's a lot to lose if they lose their dominance over the traditional way of doing things. For example, textbooks. For a long time, publication houses were holding on to this need to have books, made very fancy, colorful books, and given to every grade level, because it's a big money. It's multi-billion-dollar business in the US alone, like Pearson and all these publishing houses. But then even that is slowly changing. But the adaptability to change has a lot of reasons, and economic reason is one of them. So despite all these things that I've said earlier, education has changed and is changing. And I think one of the biggest reason for that is the emergence of technology. And as much as educators want to keep technology out of schools and education, they have no choice but to embrace it. But one of the things that you realize is that online learning or online mode of learning and assessment is still, until now, not accepted by many countries. Isn't it? There's a lot of taboo, there's a lot of stigma attached to that. But, sorry to say this, but thanks
To COVID.
thanks to COVID, that really changed. I mean, it really shook the mindset of many people, especially traditional thinking people. to reconsider their positions on online education. I am a firm and very strong believer of online education because, for example, if you want to make education truly accessible and affordable, technology has to be integrated. Otherwise, you will be talking, I want to make education affordable, accessible, but you will not be able to accomplish it. And we have seen it in the past.
Okay. Speaking about the online education, do you think online education will take over classroom very soon? 100%?
It already has. I mean, you think about it. Right now, especially after COVID.
We have classrooms now everywhere.
Yes. But so far, after COVID especially, you see what's happening with all traditional universities. You go and talk to their marketing department, sales department. Every one of them are suffering, literally, because they don't know where they're going to get the next student from. Okay, and also we have a situation of, I think, overchoice. Too many institutions have sprung up over the years. With COVID, people were shown a different reality. Okay, and people started reassessing. So, for example, in the UK, a lot of universities now have drastically changed the way they did their marketing, their recruitment, etc. So they don't necessarily, go to all these countries, that want to have students come over to study on campus. They have to opt for something more blended, more hybrid, because students, even workers nowadays, I mean, how many people want to go to office to work? We have a hard time, hiring people. We recently had a vacancy and we posted jobs on 2 different platforms, job recruitment platform. We hardly got 2 applicants, and that one applicant dropped out and we were remained with 1 applicant. Of course, she's quite, highly educated, qualified, studied in, University College London. And eventually, she was willing to join us. But it's very hard. I mean, where are the applicants? Previously, when you post a job, very high paying job, you get tens, if not hundreds of applications. But now, no one is applying because the moment they say, it's an office job, you have to come and, clock in, clock out, be there. People really don't want that. So things have changed in that sense. And in education, we actually see with European International University, we see a lot of students, our students, prefer to learn online.
Okay. Let's go deeper from that stage. So before I come to this episode, I was trying to do some role play with ChatGPT before I come to you. The paid license of ChatGPT, not the free one. And then I was pretending that I am a university student as a master degree student, just joining the university now. And I asked ChatGPT to act as a teacher, giving me a lecture about X subject. And we started at least for 15, 20 minutes together, having a very deep discussion with the right analogy, with the reference online, with role play, with some quiz analysis. It's like a personal assistant when it comes to the master degree as we speak now. Things that used to be very costly or impossible before, as you can see now.
Very true.
And the company that generated that AI, they said in their announcement that this is the most stupid version of AI that we created so far. We're only scratching the surface. That's what they said, not me, on that version that they have. Now the question is how education will be evolving with that AI thing.
So that's the reality on the ground. So every time I go attend a seminar, conference,
they ask the same question.
And educators will come protecting themselves, protecting education and say, we have to keep it away. We have to be careful. And I scratch my head and I say, why are you guys, up and against something that the whole world is embracing? You have to drop this kind of mindset and say, what can we do to embrace it and, use it to our advantage? So the thing is this, whether you want it or not, it's going to take over. All right. Now, whether it can, the most important question in the context of AI and what is happening with tools like Gemini, right?
Gemini or ChatGPT.
ChatGPT and all that, is that whether we will ever come to a point where teachers will be replaced. And that is why educators are so protective and angry with AI and all that. Well, I'll not be angry. I will not be protective. I'll say, no, give it a go. Let's embrace it. Everyone is doing it. Banking, logistics, medical, finance. Everyone is embracing it, and educators want to keep away from it. No, that's not possible. It's going to ruin us if we did that. So we have to embrace it. Now, traditionally, teachers are known to be teaching, right? Now, ChatGPT does an excellent job teaching, like you said. The only difference is if you have more money, you can put ChatGPT into a robot-like structure, and then that person can actually teach you. So it becomes an actual humanoid teacher. But aside from that, is that the only role of a teacher? Teachers have always been complaining, oh, we have 30 students in a classroom. Oh, we don't have time to cover the syllabus. We don't have time to connect with the students, right? So if that is the case, then you might as well use AI to do the things that you don't have to mundanely and routinely do. AI can do that. AI can teach you. AI can give you facts. AI can analyze facts. AI can help you think critically and process information better than even a teacher. And it's very personalized, right? So that's something that teachers cannot do. Teachers cannot personalize teaching to a group of 30 students. So in fact, AI is beautiful. Online learning is beautiful because of the personalization. If you look at gaming, we have a lot to learn from gaming in terms of, direct reinforcement, timely reinforcement, feedback, incentive, because people are motivated to respond when that kind of mechanism is put in place, gamification of learning. But teachers don't have to be worried and, anxious and protective about their role as teachers. They will never go out of job. You know why? Because teachers now can evolve into doing something more important, that is connecting with their students, helping them grow as social beings, enhance their social, emotional skills. Because now, I told you earlier that I had a column in the Bangkok Post called Teaching with Heart. Now, teaching with heart simply is an aspect of education which is called affective learning. Okay? Education for decades have neglected this aspect of teaching and learning. We only teach subject matter. So it's like we are creating Powerpuff Girls with big heads, small body and small heart. That's a very good, analogy to use to traditional education. Now let's reverse that. Let's change that. We can now use our time more productively to connect with students, to help them to really think critically, and creatively, and to help them develop their social skill, emotional skills, interpersonal skill, intrapersonal skills, all that you always complain you didn't have time to do. Now is the time to do. Embrace AI. Let AI do all the fact giving, analyzing fact. And in fact, I realized one thing. After starting to use ChatGPT, I consume more content and knowledge that I would have never had done, even with Google. Because Google search is lousy. Now I think about it, Google search is really lousy because it's not personalized.
True.
And it doesn't really do deep analysis and comparison and synthesis of information. So I've become more critical thinker because of ChatGPT, not the other way around. I'm not lazier. In fact, I started reading more because of ChatGPT. So for example, I told you I was recording a video early morning yesterday, and I was talking about procedural knowledge. But then I also remember in psychology, procedural knowledge, there's an opposite to that, and that is declarative knowledge. I forgot that, so I asked ChatGPT, what is the opposite of procedural knowledge? ChatGPT said declarative knowledge, and declarative knowledge, there are two types of that. You have the episodic memory, and another one that deals with your facts. So all that, I could revisit what I learned before and what I thought before, and consolidate and reinforce my understanding and knowledge about what I was trying to learn and talk about. So I think ChatGPT AI as a whole is only beneficial for education, for educators.
Okay.
It's very important to integrate and let the integration happen.
Okay. Have you started within your university or your education institute? One is giving training to the teachers and doctors who's dealing directly with the students on what is AI, what is ChatGPT, and how it is generating the answers. Then second question, in your hiring process, in your institution now, does AI impact the hiring profile that you're looking for moving forward?
I think we definitely do that. Now, again, so when it comes to teachers who are ready to embrace AI and integrate AI in their own teaching, assessment, one of the questions I would ask them is this. So with AI now, being a very real thing, students know it, students would actually make use of it. So how would you know if a student submits an assignment that is not from themselves and from the AI? Of course, there are tools, but even the tools are not really detecting 100% accurately. So as a teacher, you have an additional task of finding out. So it's very simple actually. Teachers don't have to panic about this. You just need to change the way you assess learning. So previously you give multiple choice questions, short answer questions, essays even. Now you make it more performance based, project based, and you have components in the assessment where you check for understanding, and you ask questions that are more critical, more challenging about the assignment itself. So what we need to do as educators is we need to revisit our assessment practice so that we allow students to benefit from AI because we are benefiting from AI. They should also benefit from AI. They go ahead and do that, but at the same time, we actually get to focus on what is more important, which is critical thinking, creative thinking. In the past, before AI, educators always talked about critical thinking, creative thinking, assuming that it's happening in the classroom. Well, it didn't happen. We have got research to prove that. When teachers teach, let's say teachers teach 100% of the curriculum, students barely learn 10%. That is why many years ago in Singapore, they deleted 25%, minimum 25% of the syllabus from math and science because they are the key subjects, to make a country innovative. So they removed, content from the syllabus because teachers don't have time to help students learn critical and creative thinking skills. They're just, helping them to cram this content, knowledge, facts and figures and prepare for exam. So I think it's a beautiful thing actually. It's a big help for educators because now AI allows us to really focus on what's more important or what's most important. That is to help students focus on critical and creative thinking.
Okay. If I ask a very tough question, okay? Give or take, just an average percentage, it doesn't have to be scientific. What percentage do you think of the university and education institute staff are willing and accepting to serve the AI revolution?
I think as of now, there's a lot of resistance. A lot of resistance because I attend conferences, workshops and all that. And overall, what I see generally speaking, in fact, I sat on a stage where 3 or 4 of the panelists were all against AI. And I was the only one who was telling, what are you guys thinking? You say, oh no, we are dealing with human children. We need to care for them and all that. So all these years, what were you doing? Before AI, were you accomplishing your role? Were you accomplishing your goal? Because the teachers always complain that they have to take care of 30 students. And how do you know if all 30 students are able to understand every lesson that you teach? Impossible, humanly impossible. But machine learning can do it. AI can do it. So we are eventually at a place and time, in our history where we can actually solve real problems in education, and we are saying no, we have to keep it out. That's ridiculous. So I think a lot of resistance until today. As of now, I would say a lot of resistance. But as I said, educators are the last persons or people who want change. They try to protect us, until the last moment. But it's breaking. Just like the financial world is breaking, is being broken by Bitcoin, the crypto. Eventually it will happen. But I think it will take time, longer than other industries. I think other industries will go ahead, and really absorb and integrate, assimilate AI to the advantage and grow further exponentially, while education, slowly moves there like a snail,
So even AI is disrupting the business in terms of commercial business, retail business, as you said, AI is impacting everyone, everywhere.
Even entertainment.
Even entertainment, everything,
Yes, everything.
Now the question here, the before AI, let me put a red line between before AI and after AI. Before AI, people to excel in their career, they used to reach a certain level and then they go and have a postgraduate studies and an MBA or a specific field as an education. One is to get the experience, to structure the thinking, to be connected with the most innovative thing. That's before AI, okay? And then once they pass the assessment and they have the university degree, they can apply whatever they learned in that education certificate into their work, and then hence you got excel in their career. That used to be before AI. Now, if the business itself, as we speak now, post AI, they don't know how AI is impacting them. And with the resistance of the education sector to the AI, where do you see the future of executive education moving forward in light of the AI?
So again, it boils down to who delivers all these education programs. So whether it's academic degree or executive programs, it depends on who is behind these programs. If someone is truly innovative, disruptive, and futuristic, they would ensure that whether they are providing academic degree programs or executive programs, they would infuse a lot of AI, a lot of technology in delivery and assessment of both knowledge and competencies or mastery of skills. So I think it would take individuals who are exposed to the benefits of AI and technology, so to say, to really drive a true innovation and change in the field of education or the sector of education or industry of education overall. So it's already happening, in few places. For example, I was in India doing my bachelor's degree, and the place I was based was called Pune, Maharashtra. It's about 3 hours from Bombay, Mumbai. Mm-hmm. And Pune is an education hub. A lot of foreigners go there to study. And the University of Pune was the well-known university, a state university. But then there was a college, it's like an underdog, called Symbiosis College. They were not even recognized by the University Grants Commission, UGC. And the University of Pune did not want to extend their affiliation to them. Because these were founded and run by business people, corporate professionals. And they had very clear vision of what they want to do as a college. They did not want to just be another factory that churns out graduates, where people mark up a lot of facts and then go write exam. That's it. 3 years, you get a bachelor's of science, bachelor of arts. No, they had a different philosophy. Now, we are talking about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I think. Yeah, 30 years ago. And at that time, no one really respected them. No one really, looked up to them. Everyone wanted to be at Pune University or universities affiliated to Pune University. But today, you know what? UGC is asking Symbiosis to have their recognition. The university, right now they are already university. Symbiosis is a university now. They don't want to even, bother about getting a UGC recognition because companies will go and wait at the gate before their students graduate, grab them, hire them right away. Because of the kind of education they, delivered or gave away. They were different. They were industry-based. They were practice-based. They were problem-solving, decision-making based. So I think it's already happening. The change is already happening. But it's happening because of individuals who are passionate about wanting the change. Okay, not as a whole, not as an industry itself, but wherever there are people who are passionate about wanting a real change in education, it's already happening.
Okay. Do you think, this is the last question, do you think technology fundamentals will be mandatory in all kind of certificates that we're gonna see very soon?
You mean integrating technology
No,
as a
technology as a subject. Yes, integrating
subject,
technology as a subject. Yes, you're right. Integrating technology as a mandatory subject.
skill? I think we are over that time now. I mean,
But this
we
is
don't
not-
even have to have a subject
but
because.
this is not happening now. For example, you can have an MBA that has nothing to do with technology at all.
Oh, okay. If you're talking about finance, that's what Hoft is doing, right?
Because for example, an MBA, for example, there is a few modules that you
Yeah,
have
core
to go.
modules.
Exactly, 4 modules that you have to go. Technology is only glimpse of that.
True.
Do you think moving forward there will be a separate module related to technology as a foundation for any postgraduate studies?
I think a lot of universities are now, introducing new programs that are applied business, for example, business and technology, hybrid programs, because they realize that if they remained as traditional core subject matter focused program provider, they are going to go out of business because the job market requires people who graduate with academic degrees to be nevertheless be very familiar with the integration and the need of technology integration in their own field or subfields. So I think a lot of universities are already responding to that by introducing new courses, entirely new courses, or they integrate new modules into their existing programs. So that's already happening.
Any final thoughts for students and postgraduate students, just as an advice, final thought to tell them?
Advice, I would say be open-minded,
Okay.
embrace the change that is already here,
Okay.
and learn as much as possible, because learning, as you said earlier, learning has been never so easy as now. As you said, I mean, in the past, people actually had to go to school, be limited to a narrow domain of knowledge. I remember going to physical library, going to the catalog, looking for books, and then going to the shelf, identifying the book. I mean, those days are gone. You don't even need to type on Google asking for a particular topic.
True.
You can do much advanced search. Like, for example, compare this with that, and do more advanced kind of analytical searching to learn deeper knowledge and skills. So one thing I would say is this: no matter what program you are studying or thinking to study, don't just aim to be qualified, because we have too many qualified people.
True.
There's something called academic or education inflation, academic inflation.
True.
So much so that a master's degree doesn't mean anything anymore.
True.
Even doctorate degrees don't mean anything anymore because too many people have them.
True.
And so the value, just like money, when there's too much of that, the value reduces. So education, the value of education has reduced significantly because of the inflation, academic inflation. So don't focus on qualification. Okay, if you enroll in a program, if you're studying or if you think about studying, think about what exactly you want to learn, what really you want to learn and get out of that particular program and learning. And most importantly, being qualified is one thing, being competent is another thing. You want to master a set of knowledge, skills, that is more important, because that's what workplace is looking for.
True.
So I realize that even we hire people. Yes, of course, qualification is just going to take people up to the door, allow them to be interviewed. But then qualification will not necessarily
Secure the
give
job.
them the job, because that would ultimately depend on their competency, their real thinking skill, their approach, and their openness to further learning, to continue to learn and, be very fluid. Like Bruce Lee said, be like water.
True.
You have to be like water. You have to be fluid. You have to be agile. And the world is changing so fast, so drastically. And we have to be, sensitive to those kind of changes to be very successful in this kind of environment.
Okay. Roy, I think it was really a pleasure having you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
I think,
it's my pleasure.
Speaking about the education inflation and compare it to the currency inflation in the economy, it's very nice analogy.
Yes.
And it's not about being qualified, it's about being competent as well. Because one will get you the door of the interview and the other one will secure the job for you.
True.
So both are important as well. Really pleasure having you, and I see the passion, the energy of an educator coming out of you.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to have another discussion with you as well later on. Whenever you pass by Dubai, it will be great to have another discussion with
I
you
would
as
like to get used to this.
Exactly. You're the expert now. You're the expert.
Thank you very much
for having you.
Thank you for your time and really appreciate it.
Thank you.